Okay, so just to start, think about this for a second. How are you breathing, like right now?
Hmm.
No, seriously, just take a moment. Are your breaths coming deep, from your belly? Or are they maybe a bit shallow, up in the chest? Maybe even through your mouth?
It's a simple question, but, well, the answer for most people is pretty surprising.
Yeah, the stats are kind of staggering, aren't they? For something like 90% of us, the way we breathe is, well, it's not optimal. It might even be doing us harm.
Exactly. And what's maybe even more surprising is how deep that impact goes. I mean, this simple act of breathing, it touches everything, every single aspect of our physical health, our mental state.
It's like this hidden crisis almost.
It really is. For the last couple of centuries, humans have sort of been de-evolving in terms
Yeah.
of how we breathe, how our faces are shaped.
De-evolving, wow.
Yeah, and it's not just some abstract idea. It's linked directly to what our sources are calling an endless list of chronic diseases, things everyone struggles with.
Like what specifically?
Oh, sleep problems, definitely. Snoring, that nagging back pain maybe, stress levels that just feel constantly high.
Right.
It even seems to affect things like our sex lives, how quickly we appear to age. It's fundamental biology that we've
Yeah.
somehow forgotten how to do correctly. In a pretty short span of human history, too.
And the weird thing is, modern medicine, with all its amazing tech and specialists, it often seems to just glance right over this, doesn't it?
It's a massive blind spot. It really is.
Think about it. When was the last time you went to the doctor and they asked how you breathe?
Right. Or checked if you're mostly breathing through your nose or your mouth.
Exactly. Or looked at that oxygen-CO2 balance beyond just, the basic finger clip reading.
It's this absolutely vital process, keeping every cell going, and yet
Yeah.
it's largely unexamined in standard checkups. It's kind of baffling.
It really is. It feels like we're so focused on treating the symptoms, pills for sleep, pills for anxiety, for blood pressure.
That we forget to look at one of the most basic, most powerful tools we have for influencing our health.
Yeah, the breath itself.
We've sort of lost touch with that innate wisdom, haven't we? And the air we take in, how we do it, that's our most direct link. If the foundation is shaky.
The whole building suffers eventually. Makes sense.
Yeah.
So if this is such a deep-rooted problem, these bad habits, where do we even start to fix it?
That's the question, isn't it?
Well, that's our mission for this deep dive. We're going to dig into some really surprising research, uncover some ancient wisdom that somehow got lost along the way.
And even look at some pretty daring self-experiments people have done.
Yeah, to figure out why this happened and, crucially, what we can actually do about it, how to reverse it.
We're talking bizarre experiments, forgotten figures from history who actually knew this stuff.
And simple techniques, right? Things anyone can do that could genuinely transform your health, your energy, just your overall feeling of well-being.
Absolutely. Let's get into it.
Okay, so to really grasp where things went wrong, we kind of need to rewind, like way back. Trace the whole evolutionary story of breathing.
It's a pretty wild ride, actually. And it kind of leads to this uncomfortable idea that humans might just be the worst breathers in the animal kingdom.
Worst breathers? How did that happen?
Well, it's this fascinating, maybe slightly humbling evolutionary tale. It highlights a massive trade-off we made. If you go back, say, 4 billion years,
Okay.
our earliest ancestors were just tiny single-celled blobs, microscopic. And they basically ate air, specifically carbon dioxide. They'd take it in and sort of breathe out oxygen, primitive respiration.
Right, photosynthesis, essentially.
Kind of, yeah. Then, maybe 2.5 billion years ago, a new type of life figured out how to do the opposite. Consume that oxygen and spit out CO2.
Aerobic life.
Exactly. And that was a game changer. Oxygen provides something like 16 times more energy than CO2 metabolism, a huge leap in efficiency.
16 times.
Yeah. And then that energy surge is what allowed life to get bigger, more complex. It paved the way for, well, everything: plants, insects, fish, eventually the first mammals.
And for ages, this breathing system worked fine for mammals, including our ancestors.
Perfectly. They could breathe in all sorts of ways, consciously, unconsciously, fast, slow, help them hunt, escape, adapt to different places. But then for humans specifically, things started to change around 1.5 million years ago.
Okay, what happened then?
Our airways started to. Well, the source calls it crack, setting the stage for the breathing problems we see so much today.
And why did they crack?
It wasn't just a random flaw. It seems to be a direct result of a major evolutionary trade-off. The driver. Our rapidly growing brains.
Our big brains messed up our breathing.
In a way, yeah. The brain needed more space, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it basically took that space in the front of our faces from the facial bones.
Ah.
So this led to shorter faces, smaller mouths, and the very human thing, a prominent nose sticking out.
Okay, I can picture that.
And at the same time, our larynx, the voice box, started moving lower down in the throat.
Which is great for talking, right? Complex sounds, language.
Absolutely. A massive advantage for communication, culture, cooperation. Huge. But
Yeah.
it came with a big anatomical cost.
Which-
That lower larynx made Homo sapiens uniquely prone to choking on food.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah, we're apparently the only animal, the only human species even, that can so easily die from food going down the wrong pipe. It's like the fourth leading cause of accidental death in the U.S.
That's incredible. So the things that made us dominant fire, softer food needing less chewing, big brains, complex speech, they also kind of obstructed our airways.
Pretty much. Made breathing inherently trickier. Laid the groundwork for things like snoring, sleep apnea. Yet somehow, for tens of thousands of years, early humans mostly seemed okay. Good teeth, easy nasal breathing.
So the really bad changes came much later.
Exactly. Driven by more recent shifts in lifestyle, diet, especially in the last few hundred years.
And we can actually see this change, like physically.
Oh, yeah. There's hard evidence. It's not just theory. You can see it in the bones in ancient skulls.
Skulls. Tell me about that.
There's this incredible research by Dr. Mariana Evans, an orthodontist, and Dr. Kevin Boyd, a pediatric dentist. They studied the Morton collection of skulls at the University of Pennsylvania Museum.
How old are these skulls?
Some are a couple hundred years old, some go back thousands of years. It's like a time capsule of human faces before the Industrial Revolution really changed everything. Gives you a snapshot of how people looked, how their faces grew, and how they likely breathed.
And what did those ancient skulls look like compared to us now?
The difference is striking. These ancient humans had wide and pronounced palates, the roof of the mouth. Their faces were really symmetrical, well-proportioned mouths with plenty of room for all their teeth.
Straight teeth, I bet.
Generally, yeah. And broad, open nostrils. All signs pointing to really efficient, easy breathing.
Okay, so what about modern skulls?
When Evans and Boyd compared them, they saw the complete opposite growth pattern. Modern skulls consistently show things like recessed chins, jaws that seem pulled back, much smaller sinuses.
And the teeth.
Almost always crooked, crowded together in mouths that just seem too small.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How did we get here?
It raises this huge question that's puzzled scientists for ages.
Yeah.
Out of, 5,400 mammal species on the planet?
Mm-hmm.
Humans are the only ones with chronic jaw misalignment. Malocclusion, they call it.
Only us.
Only us. It's not just about needing braces,
Yeah.
It's a visible sign that something fundamental has changed in how our faces develop, and that directly impacts our airways.
So this shift from good nasal breathing to, I guess, habitual mouth breathing,
Yeah.
the effects must be pretty bad. You saw this in the Stanford experiment.
Oh, absolutely. My own experience during the mouth breathing phase, it was intense, really physically and mentally draining.
What was it like?
Imagine, for weeks on end, every few seconds, like 3.3 seconds, air just streaming into your mouth. Unfiltered, not warmed up, not humidified. It was awful. My tongue felt like sandpaper. My throat was constantly raw. My lungs just ached. I remember looking in the mirror one morning and just not recognizing myself. Yeah, my eyes looked kind of glazed, almost stoned. My skin had this weird yellowish tint, and my default expression became this sort of tormented smile. You just see the constant discomfort. It was a really fast decline.
Wow. And Olson's research backed this up.
Completely. He found that mouth breathing, especially if your body's under any kind of load, like exercise, it puts your whole system into this chronic stress state.
Not just a feeling, but actual physiological stress.
Exactly. Measurable stress, which leads to getting tired faster, obviously hurts athletic performance, but also makes just everyday stuff feel harder, saps your energy, your efficiency.
And there was that cyclist study too, right? John Doyard's?
Yes. That one's fascinating. It gives you hard numbers on efficiency.
What did it show?
Okay, so athletes cycling at a steady power output, 200 watts. When they breathed through their mouths, they were taking like 47 breaths a minute. Really fast, shallow panting.
Okay.
But then, same power output, same effort, but breathing through their noses. They only took 14 breaths per minute.
14. Down from 47.
Yeah. It's a massive difference, isn't it? It shows how much more efficient nasal breathing is. Your body just works smarter, conserves energy.
And imagine applying that kind of efficiency saving, not just to cycling, but to like your thinking, your stress recovery, your immune system.
Precisely. It's not a small tweak. It's a fundamental upgrade that's available just by changing how air enters your body.
So, okay, this mouth breathing isn't just inefficient, it actually changes our faces too. You mentioned some experiments.
The, uh, the abominable experiments, as the source calls them, really quite disturbing research by Eagle Harvold back in the 70s and 80s.
What did he do?
He worked with rhesus monkeys, and he plugged their nostrils with silicone, forcing them to breathe through their mouths.
Oh, wow.
And within just a few months, their faces changed dramatically. They developed these long faces. Their mouths hung open all the time. Their eyes got this sort of expressionless, vacant look.
That's unsettling.
It is. But here's the crucial part. When he took the plugs out, their faces slowly started to return to normal.
So it showed the face could remodel based on how they breathed.
Exactly. It showed that plasticity, that direct link between the breathing route and how the face develops. It really highlights the potential for damage from chronic mouth breathing in humans.
And these facial changes, they lead to other health problems down the line.
Absolutely. It's a cascade effect. People struggle daily with issues and often don't connect it back to breathing.
Like what kind of things?
Well, think about constantly feeling thirsty or needing to pee frequently at night. That can actually be linked to sleep apnea messing with a hormone called vasopressin, which controls fluid balance.
Huh. Never would have connected those.
Right. Or even just snoring, or what they call amplified respiratory effort in kids, where they're struggling a bit to breathe, even if not fully apneic. It's not harmless.
Why not?
It's linked to emotional issues, higher blood pressure later on, even learning difficulties, because the brain just isn't getting that steady oxygen supply during sleep, especially during crucial developmental years.
And how common are these problems?
The numbers are genuinely alarming. The sources say something like 90% of kids today show some degree of mouth or nose deformity. Structural issues setting them up for problems later.
90%.
Yeah. And for adults, 45% snore sometimes, 25% snore all the time. That points to constant airway issues.
And sleep apnea.
About 25% of adults over 30 have it.
Hmm.
And the really scary part, maybe 80% of those with moderate to severe apnea are walking around undiagnosed.
That's a huge public health issue hiding in plain sight.
It really is. Millions of people affected, losing sleep, losing cognitive function, losing vitality.
Okay, but there's hope, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned reversing it, the nasal resurgence.
Absolutely. And the amazing thing is how quickly the body can respond. I saw it myself.
Yeah.
So did Olson after we stopped the mouth breathing part of the
Well,
experiment.
what happened?
The changes were immediate and dramatic. My blood pressure, which had shot up, dropped 20 points, just like that.
Wow.
Our CO2 levels, which are vital for oxygen delivery, they normalized. Heart rates went back to normal resting levels.
And the snoring, you mentioned that improved.
Improved. It was unbelievable. My snoring went down by something like 4,000%. I mean, from hours every night down to just a few minutes. And then within 2 days, gone. Completely zero.
That's incredible. And the apnea.
Vanished. The sleep apnea episodes just stopped. It shows the body's amazing ability to heal if you just give it the right input in this case. Breathing through the nose.
So the nose is doing a lot more than we think.
Way more. It's not just a filter. Yes, it cleans the air, warms it, humidifies it, which is super important in itself. But it also produces this amazing gas, nitric oxide, and no.
Nitric oxide, I've heard of that. Isn't that important for blood vessels?
Exactly. It's a vasodilator, opens up blood vessels. And get this, it can boost oxygen absorption in your lungs by up to 18%.
18% more oxygen just from breathing through your nose.
Potentially, yes. And NO does even more. It influences hormones, digestion, the menstrual cycle, heart rate. It even seems to play a role in memory.
The nose does all that.
Yeah, even the erectile tissue inside your nose, similar to, other erectile tissue responds to your health state, adjusts airflow, controls temperature and blood flow to the brain, affecting mood, sleep. It's incredibly sophisticated.
It sounds like ancient cultures might have known this instinctively. You mentioned George Catlin.
Ah, Catlin. Such a fascinating figure. 19th century American artist and researcher. He spent years living with and documenting, I think it was over 50 different Native American tribes out on the Great Plains.
And what did he notice about them?
He was just blown away by their physical health. He described them as having superhuman physical characteristics. Perfect teeth, straight and strong, and this consistent forward facial structure. Very different from the people back east.
And he linked this to breathing.
He did. He realized the one thing all these incredibly healthy tribes had in common was this universal practice of nasal breathing, right from infancy. Mothers even had gentle ways to keep their babies' mouths closed while sleeping.
And Catlin himself had problems.
Severe respiratory issues. He apparently spat blood regularly. but he became convinced by what he saw. He forced himself to breathe only through his nose, day and night.
And it worked.
He claimed it cured him completely, and he lived to be 76, which was basically double the average lifespan back then. He was adamant that the great secret of life was simply breathing through the nose.
His motto was something simple, wasn't it?
Yeah, powerful and direct. Shut your mouth.
Can't argue with that.
Yeah.
So for people today struggling with snoring or maybe mild apnea, mouth taping, is that a real solution?
It can be surprisingly effective, yes.
Yeah.
Based on your experience in the experiment, right? Using a gentle tape like 3M NextCare Durapore, just a small piece horizontally across the lips at night.
Yeah, it worked wonders for me. Stop the snoring, stop the apnea events.
It just gently encourages your body to keep the lips sealed and rely on the nose. It's a simple, low-tech way to apply that ancient wisdom Catlin observed.
Okay, so switching gears a bit. We've talked about the pathway nose versus mouth. What about the mechanics, like the exhale? Is that important too?
Hugely important and often overlooked. Which brings us to another really interesting, maybe unexpected figure, Carl Stuff.
Stuff? He wasn't a doctor, was he?
No, he was a choral conductor, which makes his discoveries even more remarkable. He became known as sort of Dr. Breath.
A choral conductor discovering secrets of breathing. How?
His big breakthrough came from working with singers, obviously, but then applying it to people with severe emphysema. And his key insight completely flipped the conventional medical thinking at the time.
How so?
Medicine saw emphysema as an inhalation problem people couldn't get enough air in, but Stuff realized, no, it's fundamentally an exhalation disorder.
They couldn't get air out.
Exactly. Their lungs were hyperinflated with stale, trapped air. They couldn't empty them properly, which meant they couldn't take a full, fresh breath in. It leads to that constant feeling of breathlessness. He saw you had to fix the exhale first.
So what did he do? How did he fix it?
He developed these very hands-on physical therapy techniques, really focused on retraining the diaphragm, the main breathing muscle. He literally taught patients how to fully engage it and, crucially, how to fully release it on the exhale.
And it worked for emphysema.
Amazingly well. He demonstrated significant increases in lung capacity, even in severe cases. Doctors at the time said that was medically impossible, that lung tissue couldn't be developed like muscle.
But he had proof.
Yeah, he used something called cineradiography, basically X-ray movies, to show the patient's diaphragms moving much more fully and efficiently after his training. The results were undeniable, even if they baffled the establishment.
Did he only work with sick people?
No. He also worked with elite athletes. He showed that mastering breathing wasn't just for recovery, but for reaching peak performance too.
Like who?
He worked with runners from Yale and famously with members of the 1968 U.S. Olympic team.
And they saw results?
Big time. Athletes improved their recovery. They broke personal records. A decathlete, Rick Sloan, I think was his name, credited Stuff's breathing coordination for helping him achieve new bests. It showed that a full, complete exhale is vital at both ends of the spectrum, healing serious illness and achieving athletic excellence.
So why wasn't Stuff celebrated? Why aren't his methods mainstream now if they were so effective?
Good question. According to the sources, his methods were just seen as, well, bizarre, too weird, especially coming from someone outside the medical field, a choir director.
That's a shame. Sounds like a missed opportunity.
A huge one, yeah. Innovation getting stifled because it didn't fit the mold.
Okay, so exhalation is key. What about how much we breathe overall? Is more always better?
See, that's another counterintuitive piece. The common wisdom is take deep breaths, right? But it turns out most modern humans actually overbreathe.
Overbreathe? How?
Our average breathing rate now is almost double what it likely was historically. We're taking in too much air, too often. And paradoxically, this can actually leave our bodies less oxygenated at the tissue level.
Wait, breathing more gives you less oxygen where you need it. That sounds completely backward.
It does. Which brings us back to Anders Olsen, my Stanford experiment partner. He makes this claim that sounds controversial, but has solid science behind it. Carbon dioxide, CO2, is actually, in many ways, more important than oxygen.
More important than oxygen? How can that be?
Well, think about quantity. There's about 100 times more CO2 in your body than oxygen. And he argues it acts like a master hormone, regulating tons of stuff.
Okay. But isn't CO2 just a waste product we need to get rid of?
That's the common view, but it's incomplete. This is where something called the Bohr effect comes in, discovered way back in 1904 by Christian Bohr.
The Bohr effect. What does it do?
Okay, picture your red blood cells like little delivery trucks carrying oxygen. The Bohr effect explains that CO2 is essentially the delivery instruction that tells those trucks where to drop off the oxygen.
Yeah.
Into your muscles, your organs, your brain.
So you need CO2 for oxygen to get released.
Exactly. If you overbreathe, you blow off too much CO2.
Yeah.
Your blood might still be full of oxygen, like 98% saturated.
Right, like the finger clip shows.
Yeah. But without enough CO2, the oxygen stays stuck to the hemoglobin. It doesn't get released effectively to the tissues that desperately need it. It's like having a full delivery truck, but no address to deliver to.
Wow. Okay, that changes everything.
It really does. And there were some pretty stark experiments proving this early on. Yandell Henderson, back in 1908, he did these terrible experiments, is what the source calls them.
What did Henderson do?
He hyperventilated dogs, forced them to breathe really fast, flooding them with oxygen but depleting their CO2.
And the result?
It was bad. Their heart rate shot up to like 200 beats per minute, their organs started failing, and they died.
Just from breathing too fast?
Essentially, yes. From the lack of CO2 disrupting everything.
Yeah.
But when he immediately slowed their breathing down, allowing CO2 to build back up, they calmed down, their organs recovered. It was definitive proof of CO2's critical regulatory role.
So breathing less, like hypoventilation training or the Buteyko method, that's about increasing CO2 tolerance.
Precisely. By deliberately breathing less, reducing your volume and frequency, you allow CO2 levels to rise slightly. This resensitizes your body to it, making oxygen delivery more efficient.
And what are the claimed benefits?
Proponents say it can sharpen your mind, help burn fat, even help manage or cure diseases like asthma.
And we see it in athletes too, right? This breathing less idea.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Djordje cyclists needing fewer breaths of the same power. And then there's the legendary Emil Zatopek.
The Czech locomotive.
That's him. Olympic runner in the 50s. He was famous for his brutal training, but part of it involved hypoventilation, basically holding his breath while running intensely.
Really?
Holding his breath while running. Yeah. Run hard, hold breath, gasp, repeat. Sounds crazy, but he won 3 gold medals in Helsinki in '52. His methods were unconventional, but clearly effective.
And swimmers too.
Yes. James Councilman, the U.S. Olympic swim coach in the 70s, he trained his team to hold their breath for longer distances in the pool, maybe taking a breath only every 9 strokes or so.
Why?
He believed, like Zatopek, it would make them use oxygen more efficiently. And his team was incredibly successful. 13 gold medals in '76. Tons of world records.
So this kind of training, it basically mimics high-altitude training.
Kind of, yeah. It increases your tolerance to lactate buildup, can even boost red blood cell count, so you get some of those altitude benefits right at sea level.
Did you try this yourself, breathing slower during exercise?
I did. I consciously dropped my breathing rate way down from maybe 20 breaths a minute to just 6 while biking.
And how did that feel? Must have felt like suffocating.
Initially, yes. It was really uncomfortable, felt totally unnatural, like my body was fighting it. But the weird thing was, when I checked my oxygen levels...
They dropped.
No, they actually went up slightly. And I biked about 1.5 kilometers further in the same amount of time, feeling like I used the same amount of energy.
Wow. Less breathing, more oxygen, better performance.
Exactly. Less is definitely more in this case.
So if slower is better, is there like an optimal rate?
It seems there might be, which leads to this really cool connection across cultures and history. The rhythm of resonance. Breathing at around 5.5 breaths per minute.
5.5 breaths per minute. That sounds very specific.
It is. Researchers looked at all sorts of ancient practices, Buddhist mantras like Om Mani Padme Hum, Hindu chants, Taoist breathing exercises, even the rhythm of reciting the Christian rosary.
And they found a pattern.
A remarkably consistent one. Despite all the cultural differences, these practices almost all naturally guide people towards a breathing cycle of about 6 seconds, 3 seconds in, 3 seconds out, or maybe 5.5 seconds in, 5.5 seconds out, which works out too.
5.5 or 6 breaths per minute.
Exactly.
Is there science behind why that specific rhythm feels good or is beneficial?
There is now. A study from Pavia University in Italy back in 2001, they monitored people praying or chanting these things. They found that breathing at this specific rate actually synchronizes your breath with your body's natural cardiovascular rhythms, these things called Mayer waves, which are slow waves in your blood pressure.
So breathing syncs up with your heart and blood pressure.
Essentially, yes. And when that happens, it induces this measurable state of calm, a profound sense of well-being, makes people feel more receptive, more balanced. It's like tuning your body to its optimal operating frequency.
So these ancient traditions stumbled onto a physiological sweet spot.
It really seems that way. They intuitively found this rhythm that modern science is now validating.
And the cool thing is, you don't need years of meditation practice to get those benefits.
Apparently not. Just by consciously breathing at that 5.5 breaths per minute rhythm, you can tap into that state of resonant calm. It makes the benefits much more accessible to everyone. It's like a built-in biological calm button.
Okay, let's shift into some more advanced techniques. Stuff that might seem a bit extreme, maybe, like intentional overload.
Right, and the prime example here is the TUMO method and how it can trigger what's called a sympathetic reset.
Sympathetic nervous system. That's the fight or flight response, right?
Exactly. And understanding how we historically viewed stress helps here. Back in the U.S. Civil War, a doctor named Jacob Mendez da Costa noticed soldiers with symptoms like anxiety, racing heart, shallow breathing. Sort of a precursor. He called it irritable heart syndrome and correctly diagnosed it as a disorder of the sympathetic nervous system. Their fight or flight was stuck on.
And we saw similar things later, misdiagnosed maybe.
Yeah, war neurosis, soldier's heart, in WWI, later PTSD. The core issue is often the same. Our bodies are designed for short, intense bursts of sympathetic activation. Run from the tiger, then calm down.
But modern life keeps us simmering.
Pretty much. Chronic, low-level stress. And the problem is, once that system is triggered, it can take hours for the body to fully calm down and switch back to the parasympathetic rest and digest state. This constant on state is incredibly draining.
So how does TUMO fit in? It seems counterintuitive to intentionally stress yourself more.
It does. TUMO is this ancient Tibetan Buddhist practice where monks voluntarily induce extreme sympathetic tension through specific breathing and visualization.
And they can do incredible things, right? Like raise their body temperature.
Astonishingly so. Up to 8 degrees Celsius, apparently. This isn't just legend. Harvard researchers measured it, published it in Nature. It's real, verifiable physiological control.
And Wim Hof, the Iceman, he brought this to the West.
Largely, yes. His incredible feats running that half marathon in the Arctic Circle shirtless, sitting in ice baths for crazy lengths of time, running a desert marathon with no water, they forced science to take a serious look.
And what did science find? How does it work?
Well, those experiments at Radboud University were key. They injected Haas and people he'd trained with an endotoxin, basically a bacterial component that normally causes strong flu-like symptoms, high fever, inflammation.
Okay.
But using their TUMO-derived breathing techniques right after the injection, they were able to dramatically suppress the inflammatory response. Far fewer symptoms, much lower inflammation markers compared to a control group.
How? What did the breathing do?
It seemed to flood their bodies with a powerful cocktail of natural painkillers and mood boosters. Endogenous opioids, dopamine, serotonin. They were consciously activating their sympathetic system intensely, but also somehow controlling their immune response through the nervous system.
So they were using stress to fight the effects of the toxin.
In a way, yeah. And there's the story of Maurice Daubard, too. Cured his TB using TUMO, then went on to do these incredible endurance feats, running 240 kilometers across the Sahara, biking the Himalayas at crazy altitudes age 71.
It's paradoxical, isn't it? Intentionally stressing the system to make it stronger, more resilient.
Exactly. It's like a violent shakeup, as the source puts it. It resets the system. It teaches you, on a physiological level, that you can gain conscious control over these autonomic processes. You become the pilot, not just the passenger.
Right, pilot of the nervous system. I like that. What about breath holding? The power of the pause.
Also incredibly powerful and works on a different mechanism, training your chemoreceptors.
Chemoreceptors, those are the CO2 sensors in the brainstem we talked about.
Precisely. They're constantly monitoring CO2 levels in your blood, and that's what primarily drives your urge to breathe. Not lack of oxygen, usually.
So the feeling of needing air is mostly about CO2 buildup.
Almost entirely, under normal circumstances.
And you mentioned overbreathing makes these sensors too sensitive.
Right. If you're chronically blowing off too much CO2, your baseline is low. So even a small rise in CO2 can feel like a massive threat, triggering those chemoreceptors way too easily.
Leading to panic, anxiety.
That's the theory. And it seems to hold true for many people. Even slight CO2 increases can feel like suffocation, triggering panic attacks.
And Dr. Feinstein's therapy addresses this directly.
Yeah, Dr. Justin Feinstein's work is fascinating. He uses controlled CO2 inhalation therapy. Patients breathe a specific mix with higher CO2.
To deliberately trigger the panic.
Initially, yes, but in a safe, controlled way. The goal is to gradually desensitize those overreactive chemoreceptors. To teach the brainstem, hey, this level of CO2 is actually okay, you don't need to sound the alarm.
You tried this. What was that like?
It was intense. Honestly, one of the most terrifying things I've done. Breathing that CO2 mix, I felt overwhelming suffocation alarms. My vision blurred, pure, primal fear.
But you pushed through.
Yeah. And after repeating it, something shifted. It felt like my tolerance range expanded. Those sensors got recalibrated. It was like exposure therapy for my brainstem. My baseline anxiety levels dropped noticeably afterwards.
And again, this isn't exactly new, is it? Breath holding for benefits?
Not at all.
Yeah.
You find descriptions of breath-holding exercises in ancient Chinese texts from the Zhou dynasty, like 500 BC. They knew it conferred physical and mental benefits even if they didn't know about chemoreceptors. It speaks to this deep, ancient understanding of breath's power.
Which brings us to yoga, prana, the ancient future of breathing.
Right. The concept of prana in ancient India, maybe 3,000 years ago, or qi in China around 2,500 years ago, it's more than just air. It's the vital life force, the energy that animates everything.
And early yoga was focused on this, not just poses.
Fundamentally, yes. Yoga originally, back in the Indus Valley, maybe 2000 BC, was really a science of remaining still and generating prana by breathing. The word asana actually just meant seat, referring to the seated posture for breathing and meditation.
So the stretchy, flowy yoga we see today is different.
Very different. Modern vinyasa yoga, the aerobic style, really only emerged in the 20th century. Ancient yoga was much more about inner stillness and breath control to cultivate that prana.
And Swami Rama.
Yeah.
He demonstrated this control.
Oh, spectacularly. In the 1970s, he became this yogi superstar by demonstrating mind-boggling feats in labs, controlling his heart rate at will, stopping it almost, changing skin temperature on different parts of his hand, making himself sweat or not sweat.
Seriously, scientists verified this.
Rigorously. He even demonstrated yogic sleep. His brainwaves showed deep delta sleep, but his mind was fully conscious and aware, recounting things happening in the room. Blew scientists' minds.
What did he teach about breathing?
He taught techniques focused on extending the exhalation, sometimes up to 30 seconds long. He claimed this was key for health, vitality, even for having smooth skin, linking breath control to cellular health.
Cellular health that connects to Szent-Györgyi, the Nobel laureate.
Beautifully, yes. Albert Szent-Györgyi won the Nobel for vitamin C, but later he developed this fascinating subatomic theory of life energy. He argued that life's vitality comes down to the efficient exchange of electrons with oxygen at the cellular level.
Okay, electrons.
He believed that oxidation in tissues, not in the good sense, but in the sense of cells losing electrons, becoming energetically depleted, especially in low oxygen environments, was a precursor to disease, even cancer.
So how does breathing tie in?
His conclusion was profound. Breathing slow, less, and through the nose maximizes oxygen delivery and utilization. This, in turn, maximizes this vital electronic reactivity in our cells, keeping them energized, healthy, and resistant to disease. It's about energy efficiency right down to the electron level.
That's a deep connection. And modern techniques still draw on this, like Sudarshan Kriya.
Yes, Sudarshan Kriya, developed by Sri Ravi Shankar, is a powerful modern example. It uses specific, often intense, rhythmic breathing patterns rooted in those ancient traditions.
You tried that too?
I did. The experience was intense. Lots of sweating, lost all track of time, felt incredibly light and clear-headed afterwards. It really demonstrated the transformative power that's accessible just through manipulating your breath in specific ways.
Okay, we've covered airways, mechanics, chemistry, even advanced stuff. But you mentioned a missing pillar. What's that?
Mastication, chewing, and how profoundly it impacts our facial structure, our airways, and our overall health.
Yep.
This gets us into the soft food trap.
Soft food trap, you mean our modern diet?
Exactly. The argument, strongly backed by evidence, is that the Industrial Revolution and the shift to soft processed foods has been a disaster for our physical form over the last couple of hundred years.
How so?
Well, for context, look at height. The average height of people in Britain actually shrank by about 5 centimeters in just 1 century after major dietary shifts. Less nutrition, altered development.
Wow. And our faces changed too.
Grammatically. Mouths got smaller, facial bones didn't develop as strongly, dental diseases exploded, and crooked teeth malocclusion went from being rare to being the norm.
You saw this in those Paris catacombs.
Vividly, looking at skulls from a 19th century cholera epidemic, you could just see it. Narrower faces, jumbled teeth, signs of blocked airways. A stark contrast to really ancient skulls. It was right there in front of me.
And Weston Price documented this transition.
Meticulously. In the 1930s, this dentist, Weston Price, traveled the world comparing isolated groups still eating traditional diets with those who had adopted modern foods.
Traditional meaning?
Hard, raw, fiber stuff. Nutrient-dense. Foods that required serious chewing.
And the results?
Unmistakable. The traditional diet groups had perfect teeth, wide jaws, broad nostrils, virtually no cavities, no asthma, no TB. But the groups that switched to modern processed foods, cavities went up tenfold. Teeth were severely crooked, airways were obstructed.
So Price blamed the food itself, like sugar.
Not primarily. His revolutionary insight was that the main culprit wasn't just what they were eating, but the lack of chewing.
Lack of chewing changed their faces.
Yes. Our ancestors, he figured, chewed for hours every day, grinding tough plants, tearing meat. This constant hard work stimulated the jaws and facial bones to grow strong and wide. It created the necessary space.
So the physical stress of chewing was essential for proper development.
Precisely. That mechanical stress shaped their faces, their airways, their dental health. And we've lost that with our soft, pre-chewed modern diet.
So if soft food messed us up, can we fix it now? Reclaim that facial health, open the airways.
There's definitely hope, and interventions are emerging, often by looking back at this forgotten wisdom. Dr. Michael Gelb in New York, he specializes in this.
What kind of patients does he see?
Often young, fit people, successful, but they're plagued by fatigue, gut issues, headaches.
Yeah.
They've been to tons of doctors, often misdiagnosed. And the root cause, breathing obstruction from underdeveloped facial structures.
And fixing it involves orthodontics.
Sometimes, but maybe not the kind we usually think of. It's fascinating. Early orthodontists actually got it right. People like Norman Kingsley back in 1859, Pierre Robin in the early 1900s.
What did they do differently?
Their goal wasn't just straight teeth. They designed appliances specifically to widen the mouth, to expand the palate, to open the airways. Robin's monoblock appliance literally encouraged outward growth. They understood the structure-function link.
But modern orthodontics often involves pulling teeth, right, to make space.
Exactly. And this is where the work of Dr. John Mew and his son Michael Mew gets controversial. They argue that practices like extractions and retraction orthodontics, pulling teeth back, actually flatten the face and worsen breathing problems.
Flatten the face.
Yeah, they call the result craniofacial dystrophy, characterized by things like droopy eyes, puffy cheeks, a recessed chin. They believe it's a sign of inhibited forward facial growth, which compromises the airway. It's a totally different philosophy.
And Michael Mew promotes mewing. I've seen that online.
Right. It's huge on YouTube. It's basically about maintaining correct oral posture all the time. Lips sealed, teeth lightly touching, and the whole tongue pressed firmly against the roof of the mouth. Plus, good spine posture.
And the claim is this can reshape your face.
Over time, yes. The idea is it encourages proper facial development, leads to a wider mouth, stronger jawline, helps reduce apnea, makes nasal breathing easier, kind of like DIY orthodontics based on posture.
Are there devices that try to achieve this too?
Yes, like Dr. Theodore Bellefour's HomeoBlock appliance. It's designed to do more than just move teeth. It aims to stimulate new bone growth in the maxilla, the upper jaw, the center of the face.
New bone growth in adults. I thought that wasn't possible.
That's why it's controversial. But Bellefour has research, including TAC scans, seemingly showing increased bone density and new bone formation even in people in their 70s. The scans show their throats actually opening up as the jaw expands. It suggests our faces might be more adaptable even later in life than we thought.
How does it stimulate bone growth?
By mimicking that mastication stress, the pressure and intermittent forces of chewing hard foods that our ancestors experienced.
So could just chewing more help, like really hard gum?
Potentially, yes. Chewing tough gum, like traditional Turkish phelim gum or mastic gum, provides that vigorous workout for the jaw muscles and stimulates the bone. It's a simpler way to get some of those benefits, applying that ancestral principle.
And it starts really early, right? Breastfeeding versus bottles.
Absolutely. Studies consistently show that babies breastfed for longer periods tend to have fewer crooked teeth, less snoring, less sleep apnea later on.
Why?
Because the mechanics are different. Breastfeeding requires strong, complex movements of the tongue and jaw muscles, which helps develop those structures properly right from the start. Bottle feeding often doesn't provide that same developmental stimulus. It highlights how fundamental these early influences are.
Wow. Okay, so putting this all together, breathing isn't just breathing, is it?
Not even close. This deep dive really shows it's a fundamental pillar of health, right up there with diet and exercise, maybe even more foundational. But it's the pillar we constantly overlook.
Like Dr. Andrew Weil said, if he had just one recommendation for health,
it would simply be to learn to breathe better. It's that profound.
And the amazing thing is, so much of this is accessible, right?
Totally. The most powerful techniques. They're free, no equipment needed, you can do them anywhere. Sure, there are apps and gadgets now, But the basic unplugged version is just as potent. It's about reconnecting with your own body's built-in technology.
It feels like a call to reconnect then. Breathing is always happening, our most constant link to the world.
Exactly, it's this continuous exchange. And by consciously relearning how to do it well, we're not just fixing physical problems like apnea or anxiety.
We're unlocking something deeper.
Maybe. Moving from just being carried along by our biology, reacting to stress, to actually taking the controls, becoming active pilots of our own physical and mental states.
So maybe breathing right isn't just about being healthy.
Maybe it's about being more fully alive, tapping into that wisdom that's always been there in every single breath. The change isn't just fixing symptoms, it's shifting how we experience ourselves and the world, one conscious breath at a time.